Namaste, namaste, and welcome to this specially recorded yoga practice for Holly's Barre students. So a few weeks ago, we had a yoga Barre hybrid class instead of the usual Barre class, and I promised you guys a recording of a practice very similar to the one that we had done in our class. So today, that is what we're going to do. And I've got a few bits of equipment which will be useful to have. The first is a yoga strap, but you don't need necessarily a yoga strap. A tea towel or a scarf or a dressing gown belt or a stretchy band would do, but stretchy band less useful than a solid one in this case. And I've got two handheld weights. Now mine are 1.5 kilos, but I'd recommend a 0.5 kilo or 1 kilo weights if you are not familiar with this practice. You can build up to something a bit heavier over time. I've got a couple of blocks here, which may or may not be useful. Some people might like to use them. And I've also got something soft to put underneath my knee when it is down on the ground. So we can put these bits of equipment ready, but then come up to standing and start. So we're going to do a really quick warm up. It's not a big one, so if you need more time to warm up and limber than we have here, then please feel free to do that. Stop the video and do that. We're going to start with the feet nice and wide, a little soft in the knees, and really sort of bouncy and buoyant on the feet. And then from center, firm in the belly, a little twist from side to side. Let the arms and shoulders be nice and loose so that they float away from the body as you twist, wrap around the body and tap the body as you finish that twist. We want the head to feel almost like it's full of air so that it lifts really, really tall without being rigid or forceful. And for those who find they get a little bit dizzy with twisting, simply keep your head in one place and allow the twist to happen in whatever way feels natural, and that should eliminate that feeling of dizziness. If you would like to, you can pivot on your toes, just allowing the lower body to join in with the twisting, perhaps a little firmer lifting across the belly. And if you'd like to, you can add a soft bend in the knees, a bounce and twist, bounce and twist. It's good to point the toe that you're moving away from, maybe tapping the opposite side of the chest in front of you and the opposite side of the rib cage behind you as a destination for those hands. The tapping itself is great, helps to boost up energies and vitality at the beginning of the class. When you're ready, you can let your bounce go, simply pivot, and then bring your feet to steadiness and sway slowly back to center. And as you come to center, just taking a moment to stand really tall. Let your weight drop back into your feet, your shoulders soften, your face soften, and exhale through your mouth. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to do quite a lot with our hands today. We're going to warm up the hands by gently rolling through the wrists, nice big fingers, long stretched out palms as well. You can roll the opposite way too. And then taking the thumbs into the palms of the hands, wrapping the other fingers around, again, rolling the wrists. Oh, feels so good, particularly if you work at a computer or you spend a lot of time using your thumbs on social media, gardening, knitting. Roll the opposite way as well. Baking, kneading, I don't know, other things that use the hands. And then just gently let those arms relax down to your sides. And standing in the center, we're going to draw the chin towards the chest, roll the right ear towards the right shoulder, and chin back to the chest, left ear to left shoulder, and chin to chest. Just a little side to side. We're not looking for super loads of length here, but just a warming up of those structures so that when we come to do movement, it's not a surprise. And the body is prepared. When you're ready, you can bring your head back to center, give yourself a soft smile, and then raise your head up again. Roll the shoulders a few times. Very nice. We can make those shoulder rolls slightly bigger by using our elbows. Some nice big chest opening movements and feeling the shoulder blades gliding around on the back, sort of like a self massage of the upper back, which is lovely. We're going to go a little bit bigger still, maybe stretching the arms wide, trying to draw the arms back behind the body. And then from here, we're going to gently make some side bends. So just as we do in normal bar classes, keeping the hips nice and centered, bending to one side and then the other, nice and firm across the belly muscles. Finding a real joy to stretching out the sides of the body, which is a movement we don't normally do in our everyday lives. Unless perhaps you have some bizarre function that allows you to stretch in this way. Let's do one more to each side. And then gently reaching the arms nice and wide. We're going to float the arms down to the sides, give the shoulders another little roll. And anytime you need to, you can wriggle the shoulders and the hips to release any effort from the body that's holding on. So we're going to take our belts first and do just a really nice wriggle that provides a little bit of extra openness for the back of the body. So we have the belt as with the hands quite close together, just inside the body width apart. And we want to stand really tall and keep the arms lengthened and the belt taut, but not forcing either of those. So a touch of softness across the elbows. We don't need to do anything really rigid with the belt. But with the belt nice and taut coming up to about shoulder height and then releasing down. And as you stand, remember your bar position where you have a little softness across the knees, the weight a little bit into the toes, the shoulders releasing down and the belly muscles active. If you can, coming up a little bit higher and then lowering down. And you can progressively come up higher still until you can get as high as feels comfortable, maybe even having the hands just either side of the head. Maybe a little bit further behind the head for those who are really open underneath the arms. If you find it a struggle, just widen your arms on the belt. So you give your shoulders a bit more room to move and you'll find it's much easier. This time, when you've got the arms as high up as they naturally go, another little sway from side to side. And by pulling the belt apart, we get a different kind of sensation on the side of the body. So it's a really nice thing to do. Helps to get some awareness of how our bodies move. And then here, when we've got the arms over the head, we're going to bend the elbows out to the side and back to bring the belt down. I'm bringing the belt to the top of my head first, and then reaching back up again, and then bringing the belt perhaps a little lower down, perhaps the back of the head, and up, and then perhaps lower down still. Now, your lower down might just be a centimetre or two, or a millimetre or two, but every time we're trying to just draw the belt down that little bit further, keeping the elbows back, trying not to flare the rib cage, but keeping the belly muscles engaged. And then perhaps widening the hands a little on the belt to bring the belt down the lowest you can go. Perhaps it's the back of the shoulders. That would be great if it is. And then in this position, we do a gentle twist from side to side. We're not looking for any particular motion or shape, just a sensation in the body. Back to the center, reaching the belt all the way up and all the way down in front of the body. Let's give our hands a little bit of a rest, wriggling the fingers, interlacing the hands, rolling through the wrists. Lovely thing to do to release your wrists anytime you need to. I'm going to shake out the arms, roll in the shoulders a couple of times, and then we're going to take this belt again about the width of our bodies, and then holding in front of the body, just a little sway from side to side. We want the arms to be long and the belt to be taut throughout the practice, and that helps to sort of loosen off any effort across the upper back. And also just prepare the body for movement. And then if you're happy, you can do some kayaking. So just drawing the belt down and back on either side of the body. Allow your hips to move if you'd like to. So it's a really freeing motion for the upper body. If you can, begin to draw the belt up first and then down, and make any expressions of movement through the space around you. So you don't have to be rigid in any way, trying to ease that sense of space through the body, moving intuitively, keeping the elbows lengthened if you can. I keep occasionally bending mine, that's okay. And when you're finished, you can relax the belt down in front of the body, just popping it to one side so it's ready for practice if you would like to use it, and then rolling the shoulders. Aces. So one of the key movements that we're going to do today is a movement through the upper back that promotes strength in the upper back and helps us to undo this forward folding posture that happens to us as we travel through life. And so I really like to do this one. I'm going to turn my back so you can see. Where I take the backs of my hands to the space just above the buttocks. Elbows are nice and wide. Shoulder blades are rolled together so that we've got that openness of the chest. And then reaching the arms out to the side, we turn the palms upwards and then bring the palms of the hands or the fingers to the back of the head. So we don't want to necessarily touch, we want to be slightly behind the back of the head, reaching out to the side, turning the palms to face away so the backs of the hands come to the low back, and then reaching wide, turning the arms and bringing the fingers or the palms of the hands to the back of the head. So this movement, this alternating between backs of hands to low back, palms of hands to the back of the head, whilst we keep the belly muscles very active and we avoid flaring the chest. So we want to be making that motion with the muscles of the shoulders, arms, and upper back, and resisting that motion with the front of the body. So we get a true sense of openness. Last one. And then we're going to reach the arms wide and simply float them down to your sides. Give your shoulders a little roll. Now, if that felt challenging enough without any weights, you might prefer to do it without weights when we come to our practice here. So let us come to we're doing basically a sun salutation variation. So it's very similar to that series for those who are familiar with the sun salutation, but we're adding a few bits and taking away a few bits as we go. So I'll just talk you through it slowly, and maybe the second time you do it, you might like to speed it up a bit, who knows. We're going to come to the front of our mats, and we're going to start with a cleansing breath. So breathing in as you stand tall, take the arms around the body and up, maybe looking gently up, and as you breathe out, palms together at the center of the chest. Here we're going to breathe in and take the arms up, and then as you breathe out, come onto your tiptoes, bend your knees, and come into a deep squat. So coming all the way down towards the floor. If you need help, you can put your hands onto your blocks here. And then for those who don't wish to forward bend, you can simply come into hands and knees. But for those who enjoy a forward bend, lifting the hips and lengthening the legs, and just easing one leg and then the other straight as the opposite knee bends. You can turn your head from side to side if that feels good. And then we're going to all step back into hands and knees. So bringing the knees to the floor, taking the weight into the feet a little as we gently round and arch the back. So we're going to breathe in as we look forward, lengthening the front of the body, gliding the shoulder blades down, and then rounding through the spine as we breathe out, chin to chest, and lifting the back of the body up. Let's do one more, breathing in and breathing out. And then here, we're going to take the block that we've got ready, that nice soft block, underneath the right knee and step the left foot forward. So you can use these blocks we've got at the front of the mat if you'd like to. to give a little bit of support as we sway the hips backwards and forwards. Just beginning to move the hips in a way that we haven't yet done, but also doing some long-term preparation for our hamstrings and our hip flexors. And we're releasing tension as you find it. Next time you bring your hips back, you just leave them back for a little wiggle from side to side. And then we're going to come into our lunge position. We can release the blocks as we don't need them anymore. And you can tuck your back toe under if you wish to, or leave it flat as you choose. We're going to practice that motion of breathing in as we lift the arms up and breathing out as we draw the elbows back and down. Very similar to what we did with our belts when we lifted the belt up. So breathing in, taking the arms up, breathing out, elbows back and down. One more time, breathing in and breathing out. And then we are going to take our hands to the floor and step our left foot back to meet our right foot in plank pose. And for those who prefer to have plank pose with the knees down, you can put your knees down. And for those who would like to do something a little bit more in your plank pose, you can gently shift your weight forwards and backwards. Just a few, really firm across the belly, nice and firm in your plank. And then taking the knees down to the mat, we're going to leave the block underneath the left knee and step the right foot forward. Hands onto the blocks if you're using them ahead, and swaying the hips backwards and forwards. So just a little bit of action for those hip flexors and hamstrings on the other sides of the body. And we're easing into it. So we don't need to make a specific shape. You can move your blocks closer to your hips if you need to. The next time the hips are back, we're just gently going to wriggle the hips from side to side so we get that little sway, and that sensation of stretch moves around the back of the right leg. When you're ready, you can bring your hands down to the mat and step back into plank pose. So this time, I'm just going to move my soft block out of the way. This time we can take the knees to the floor and do something called a waving vinyasa. It's a really nice way to use our body weight to improve our upper body strength. So we're going to move the knees a little bit further away from the hands and then take the hips back towards the heels. Press off the feet as you round forward, and as your shoulders come over your hands, glide the shoulder blades towards each other, firm the belly and the buttocks, maybe looking forward, soften the elbows, and then we're going to press through the arms, round the body back into this extended child's pose. So pressing off the feet to come forwards, like a big lengthened cat-cow motion, opening the chest. We come into this up dog variation with the thighs on the floor, and then rounding back into our extended child's pose. One more of these, pressing off the feet to round forward, opening the chest, and then pressing through the hands, rounding back into extended child's pose. For those who would enjoy it, you can come into a downward dog at this stage, or you can come back to hands and knees and simply rest there, or take a child's pose if you would like to. In my down dog, I like to do a little bit of walking, one heel and then the other. You can also sway the shoulders as you look under one arm and then the other, or you can keep more steady in the center if you prefer. And then we're going to take the knees down to the mat. We want to put the block underneath the left knee and step the right foot forward. Aces. So this time we're going to use our belts to do the same practice that we did standing up. So we are in a lunge pose and we don't really want to be super into it. So there's no prizes for getting here. We actually want to be much more upright so the legs are strong, pressing both feet down into the mat, really thinking about creating that firm foundation. The arms come in front of the body with the arms nice and lengthened. We're going to reach the arms forward and up, and then bending the elbows back, pulling the belt taut and drawing the elbows drawing the belt down as low as feels comfortable, and then reaching up and back down in front of the body. Let's do 2 more like that. So a little tuck under of the tailbone, nice and firm in the belly, reaching up and then bending the elbows wide and back to draw the belt down to wherever it comes to naturally. Could be the back of the head or the back of the neck or the back of the shoulders. Reaching up and reaching down. 1 more time. Lifting up, keeping the shoulders down, drawing the elbows wide to bring the belt down to wherever is comfortable, trying not to flare the ribs, try to keep strong in the legs, reaching up and reaching down. Super. We're going to put that belt to one side, allow the hands to frame the foot and step back into plank pose. And here in plank pose, we've got an opportunity to do a little side planking. So for those who are not familiar with side planking, maybe taking your left knee down, we're going to roll onto the inside of the right leg and take the right arm up into the air as we look to the right. A little half side plank to begin with, which is a nice thing. And then taking our hand back down to the mat, coming back into plank pose. We're going to use the knee just to, if you're using support, to move it to the opposite side so that we can then bring the knees down and step the left foot forward. So we're first establishing our really good foundation for our lunge. Don't need to be super lungy about it. You'll be up here, gentle tuck of the tailbones, nice, really firming the feet into the floor. Same position with the arms on the belt, lifting up with the belt, opening the chest, and then drawing the elbows back and down so the belt comes down behind the head, neck, or shoulders. Reaching up and reaching down again. Remembering to breathe. You can use your breath with your movement if you'd like to breathe in as you come up. Breathing out as you draw the elbows wide. Breathing in as you reach up. And breathing out and down. We'll do 1 more, nice and firm from center. Breathing in. Breathing out. Wide, don't flare the chest. Breathing in. Breathing out and down. Very good. And then we'll take the belt to the floor, hands frame the front foot, and we step the left foot back. And then we take plank pose first, but we're doing side plank again. So we're dropping the right knee down, turning the inside of the left foot to the floor as we look to the left and lift the left arm up into the air. Draw your shoulder blades towards each other. Feel a lift of the hips. So we're not sagging into the floor, we're actively lifting away. And then left hand comes down. We lengthen out the right leg. And here we can do our waving vinyasas again. So knees come to the floor, hips back to heels, and we can press off the feet to round through the spine as we come forward, gliding the shoulder blades back to open the front of the body in a nice gentle up dog, and then rounding through the spine back into extended child's pose. Pressing off the feet to round through the spine forward, opening the chest, and rounding through the spine back, scooping the belly in as we go. Last time, coming forward, just supporting the upper body with slightly soft elbows, and then rounding back. For anyone who wants to, you can stay here or come to hands and knees. But if you'd like to join me, we can come up into downward facing dog. Give our down dog a little bit of an opportunity of turning the head from side to side, lifting in the hips, wiggling in the hips if you'd like to, lengthening one leg and then the other if you'd like to. And then we'll gently bring our knees down and come back into our kneeling position so we can put the block underneath the left knee and step forward into our lunge position. In a real sun salutation, we'd obviously transition from these postures in a different way, but wanted to make this accessible to the most people in the class. So this is how we're doing it today. And as long as you're giving your best effort, you'll get a lot from this practice. So we're going to switch up to our handheld weights. Whew. So our handheld weights are great. We can do a variety of different movements with them, but the one that we've practiced is to take the arms wide and then bring the backs of the hands to the low back, pressing into the floor with both feet, firming the belly muscles, and then reaching the hands wide, turning the hands so the palms of the hands come to the back of the head. So we're going from one to the other. There's a rotation through the arms when they're extended, so the backs of the hands come to the low back, and then the palms of the hands come towards the back of the head. But we keep the elbows wide all of the time, opening the chest and allowing those structures that support our shoulders to get a really nice workout. Any weight we add to the end of our levers, so if we added a pound at the end of our levers, it's like 9 pounds on the shoulder joint, because that's how levers work. We'll do one more, all the way down. We're going to finish in the up position, all the way up, and then release the arms out to the side, take the weights down to the floor, and we're going to step back into plank pose. Here in plank pose, we can do our side planks again. So if you want to put your left knee down, you can. Otherwise, take your feet apart, let the heels come down to the left and reach the right arm up off the floor, pressing into the floor with the feet and the hand. So you lift your hips up. You can look sideways, forwards, up, wherever you'd like to. Try not to look down, it tends to make you unbalanced. And then when you're ready, rotating back to the mat, and we'll take our knees down. And we're going to swap our block to the opposite side. Super stuff. So we're coming into our lunge pose on this side. We've got the left foot forward and the right knee supported up against the floor. And we want to get hold of our weights again. So here again, we're not doing super lungy. We're nice and upright. The legs are really, really pressing into the ground, nice and firm and stable across the belly and the buttocks. We bring the backs of the hands to the low back, holding our weights, or not if you prefer. And then reaching wide, just rotating through the arms to bring the palms of the hands to the back of the head. Keeping the chest open, the elbows wide, the belly muscles working. Backs of the hands to the low back. And then palms of the hands to the back of the head. The neck here is fairly neutral, but trying not to be too rigid. And the other thing you want to avoid doing is dropping your head forward when you bring your hands up, because you'll just strain your neck that way. Don't do that. Always keep the neck in a really nice, easy position. Super. One more, up and down, and then we're going to finish in the up position, opening the chest. Hands come to the back of the head. And then here we're just reaching the hands wide, allowing the weights to come down to the floor, and then we step into our plank pose. So in plank pose, the feet are nice and wide. We're going to drop the heels to one side or the right knee down and lift the left arm up to come into side plank. Try to lift the side of the body up away from the mat. And then taking the left hand back down, just getting rid of the block from underneath. We can do waving vinyasas from downward facing dog or from hands and knees. So hands and knees, same as it was before, or from down dog, pressing to down dog, softening the knees so the hips come towards the heels. And then everyone does the same action, pressing off the feet to round forward. Look to your feet until your shoulders are over your hands, and then glide the shoulder blades towards each other, firm belly and buttocks, and then bending the knees, rounding through the spine back into hands and knees, extended puppy dog pose, or normal down dog pose. So we'll do 2 more like that, bending the knees, and then pressing off the feet to round forward, opening the chest as you look forward, and then rounding through the spine to come back into downward dog or extended child's pose. One more time, pressing off the feet to round forward, and rounding back again. From here, we're going to take a little rest in child's pose. So nice wide feet, nice wide knees rather, reaching the hands forward and turning the palms upwards forehead resting on the floor, or folding the arms and resting the forehead on the back of the arms, or a block if you prefer. Taking a couple of deeper breaths, you can wriggle your hips gently from side to side if you enjoy it in this position. One more deep breath in and out. Very good. Just walking your hands back towards you so you come into an upright position. Aces. So this is just really a little taste of what we can do in a hybrid yoga bar session. And we're going to finish with just a really nice opening sequence for the shoulders and chest as well. So it is a little weight bearing, but not too much. We're going to start with the left leg bent in and the right leg extended. And then we'll take something called cactus arms. So we have the elbows at about shoulder height. Higher is not useful, so lower is probably more useful. But bent at right angles, and you can face the palms forward or the palms towards each other, it doesn't matter. Here we're sitting really tall, and we start in this position to open the chest. We can do a little gentle turn from side to side. It's quite hard to turn in this position because the turn is happening from the torso, which is more rigid than other parts of the body. Then we're going to reach the left hand long and take the back of the left hand towards the right foot. So across the body, a little round spiral and up. And then we're going to take the left hand behind the left hip, reach the body away from the right foot and reach the right arm around the body in a nice big circle. So let's do one more like that. We start from cactus arms, back of the left hand towards the right foot, up and over. As the left hand comes to the floor, we lean away from the right foot and reach the right arm around the body in a circle. For those who want to add, you can lift the hips from the floor when we do the backward motion. I will show you. We'll do 3 more. Rounding the back of the left hand towards the right foot, up and over, and then placing the left hand down, coming onto the left shin, the right leg, and reaching the right arm around the body. It's called a baby wild thing. And then 2 more like that. Reaching left hand to right foot, up and over. Left hand is down, right arm goes around the body as the hips lift. Super. One more time. Left hand to right foot, up and over. Left hand behind the body and reaching the hips up, chest open as the right arm travels around the body. And we come back to sitting. Awesome sauce. So in between here, we can fold the right leg back so that we come into this sort of 90-90 position, and we can sway the knees from side to side. You can do that by leaning away from your knees, or if you prefer, you can be more upright. It's a little bit harder work, but it is also a little bit more effective in terms of lubricating the hips. I tend to move as I'm doing mine. So we'll come back to our original starting position, and we're going to find a forward bend here. So hands nice and wide, just reaching forward with the crown of the head. We want to find length in the spine without rounding through the spine. So we're leaning forward, gently swaying the chest from side to side, perhaps coming a little lower or all the way down if you prefer. Taking a moment just to breathe here, you'll feel a nice strong stretch across the left hip and buttock. If you wish to, you can extend the right leg if it gives you any bother being bent like this. Deep breath in and out. And then gently walking yourself up to an upright position. We can do the same thing, but twisted to the left as well. So if forward folding over the front leg is enough for you, that's fine. But if you find it useful, you can twist to your left and bring yourself again down as low as feels comfortable. Again, if you wish to extend the right leg, you can do that. It doesn't matter. It's more about the position of the torso. But if you wish to, you can come all the way down towards the floor. Just taking a few deeper breaths. When you're ready, you can walk your hands back to an upright position. And then we're going to rock back onto the hips to swing our feet to the other side. We'll keep the right leg bent in and the left leg extended, and do the same thing on the other side. So cactus arms to begin with, a little twist from side to side. Notice how it feels differently on this side. Maybe you move more freely, maybe not. And then we extend the right hand and bring the back of the right hand to the left foot, reaching up and over. We're simply leaning back onto that hand, hips stay down. We reach the left arm all the way around the body and come back to our upright position. Back of the right hand to the left foot, reaching that sort of long spiraling forward bend. And as the right hand comes behind the body, we lean back and reach the left arm all the way around the body. So for anyone who wishes to stick with that variation, please do so. It's a really lovely way to move the body. You don't need to lift the hips from the floor unless you want to. For those who want to, we're going to extend and draw the back of the right hand towards the left leg, up and over. And as the right hand comes down close to the hips, we lift up and take the weight onto the right low leg, left foot, and move the left arm around the body in a circle. 2 more like this. Back of the right hand to the left foot, up and over, and then right hand down to support the hips, lifting away from the floor, opening the chest, and settling back down into our first position. Back of the right hand towards the left leg, up and over, right hand down and up onto the shin and the left foot to move the left hand around the body. And then we come back to center. We're going to bend that left leg in to the left side, maybe do a few motions with our hips. For those who want to be really fancy, you can come all the way up, lifting the hips from the floor here. It is not at all necessary. It's just the advancing variation of this motion. We do one more. And then we're going to keep that right knee bent in and forward fold here. So I realize I've worn a more revealing top than anticipated. So I'm just fiddling with that. Please excuse me. So we are aiming for leaning out of the base of the spine rather than rounding forward. Getting down isn't the key. Stretching is the key. So we're taking the arms nice and wide, a little lift across the belly, and we're gently going to sway the chest from side to side to find a little bit of wiggle room in the low back. And that might allow you to get down a little bit lower. And if it doesn't, stay higher. But if you can come down a little bit lower still, you might find that you get what we're looking for is that sensation of length around the back of the right hip. And you can even take your forehead down if you'd like to. If you need to extend your left leg, just doing so. You might need to bend and stretch it a few times for it to feel comfortable. Or you might be perfectly comfortable here, like me. Couple of deep breaths. And when you're ready, you can walk your hands back in to be upright. And then for those who would like to, take the additional stretch, the additional opportunity to turn to your right, away from your legs, and then lengthen down here. It's a really nice way to twist the body. And so it provides us with all the benefits of a spinal twist, but in a slightly different way. You can come lower still, or all the way down if you'd like to. For those who find it twinges in the left hip, just extending the left leg if you need to, or not if you don't. A couple of deeper breaths here. And whenever you're ready, walking your hands back in to come to an upright position. And we can just swing ourselves around onto our buttocks and leave the legs in whatever position feels good. So you can sit with them out to the side, or bent, or soles feet together, or crossed as you choose. Let us finish by stretching out the back of the body. So if we begin with crossing the arms left over right, holding onto the shoulders, We want to reach the hands as far behind the body as possible, and then let the elbows be heavy onto the chest, not sag, be heavy onto the chest. And then if this feels like enough of a stretch, if you can feel some length in the upper back, you might like to stay here. Or if you prefer, you can draw the backs of the hands or the palms of the hands towards each other in eagle arms pose. We call this Garudasana. And if you'd like to, you can raise and lower both your elbows and your chin in this little variation of a stretch. And then we'll let the hands come back down to the shoulders, across the body, just taking the arms slightly behind you, leaning back onto them, opening your chest, maybe lifting your chin. And then the same thing the other way, right arm over left arm this time, holding onto the shoulders, trying to get as close behind the body with the fingertips as possible, letting the elbows be heavy onto the chest, taking a few deeper breaths here. And we're just lengthening the spaces that we've used. And then if you'd like to, lifting the elbows to keep the upper arms together, bringing the palms of the hands or the backs of the hands towards each other. And here you might like to lift and lower, which really has the effect of gently lengthening all of the structures across the tops of the shoulders, the outside of the shoulders. And then when you're ready, hands back down to the sides of the body and coming around. Oh, feels great, doesn't it? So if there are any other stretches that you would like to do, please do so before you have a few moments of relaxation. And I look forward to practicing with you again soon. I hope you enjoyed it. Namaste.